Hey romance readers, welcome back to AdoreR. It's Linda back at you with another video. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Sunday. Happy Sunday. And we're starting the second week of April. I hope the first week of April was good to you, and I hope this week be even better. So I have two recommendations, and I'm gonna also go over the book that I had mentioned in another one of my videos that I was reading by Goodman. And I also want to let you all know what I'm going to be reading for the month of April. I went in and I got some books from my TBR pile, but I also bought some books too, and I got a book from the library that I'm going to I added to my to be read pile for April. I need to read those books that I've had for a long time, but you know how sometimes you see a book and you want to read that right away, so that's what happened. So I'm going to go over those with you, so let's get started. First up, I'm going to go over the book that have completed. I have read one book, All I Ever Needed by Goodman. It was an okay book. It's not a keeper for me. It was interesting enough for me to finish it, but it's not interesting enough for me to keep it, so I'm not going to keep it. And it's a historical, and it was about Lady Sophia Coley and the Marquis of Eastland. And it was about, it's kind of like I guess you can call it a suspense historical, because her family, her uncle and his son, they're not right. They were doing some underhanded stuff, and it's about Eastland. He kind of like worked for the government, and he has a mistress who he broke up with, and how he meets Sophia is that his mistress go around spreading rumors that that him and Sophia are engaged for some reason, to get back at him, because I know back in them days when stuff like that happened, you know, it was a scandal, so he had to go over there and talk to Sophia about what they was going to do about the whole situation. And he started liking her from there, because she was she kind of how would I want to put it, she knows her own mind, she you know, gives as good as she get. But for some reason I just couldn't get into it. It didn't have that aha moment, or that I don't know, where you read something and you be like, wow, and you know, you think in your head that I want to read this again when I finish it. But I didn't get that in this book. I didn't get that moment of where I would really want to read this again. It didn't happen. And another thing that happened in here that threw me off was that Eastland has some friends, and their name are North, South, and West. That threw me off too, because it just didn't seem realistic. But I know why the author did it, because she had some little line in there with pertaining to their names. It was, if you read this book, you know what I'm talking about. But that North, South, and West, and then his name was East. That messed me up. I guess that from the beginning, it just messed me up, and all through the book, I guess I just wasn't feeling it. But so this won't be a keeper for me. It's Goodman, All I Ever Needed. Have any of you read this? Did you enjoy it? Was it a keeper for you? Let me know in the comments below if you really, really liked it. And tell me what you liked about it, because I just couldn't. The book was, like I said, it was interesting enough for me to finish it, but it's not a keeper for me. But Goodman, All I Ever Needed. And next, I'm going to do my recommendations. First up is A Silhouette Intimate Moment. Variation on a Theme by Billie Douglas. And I'll read you, it was a really good book for me, because it had everything I liked in it. It had the female occupation. She's a flutist. I think I mentioned before that I like those kind of occupations. Occupations that don't get mentioned that much in books. She's a flutist, and he is a private detective. Y'all know I like detectives, and he's a private investigator, I mean, and those kind of occupations. So I'll read a little bit of this for you. Like the two strands of a duet, the lives of Rachel Bouchet, flutist, and Jim Guthrie, private investigator, drew together until they became one. Rachel was a child of privilege, while Jim came from the wrong side of the tracks. There seemed no reason why they should fall in love, no way that they could spend their lives together, especially because Rachel's past held a secret that even she could only suspect. But when the tangled emotional scenes skeins. I don't know what that word is. S-K-E-I-N-S. Sometimes you get these words, you be like, what? And especially you've never heard them before. Surrounding her birth were unraveled. The way was clear for the one thing she wanted most, a life of perfect harmony with Jim. Sometimes reading these books and trying to make a video and know you're recording yourself, that don't help either. Make it even worse. But we're going to get through it. Hopefully. I done tried to make this video about 3 or 4 times and I haven't made one yet that I was pleased with. So hopefully this will be the one. And again, this is Variation on a Theme by Billie Douglas, a silhouette intimate moment. If you haven't read this, you need to check it out. It was really good. And next I have also another silhouette intimate moment. Let me see when this was published here. Variation on a Theme was published in 1984. Long time ago. Anybody know what they were doing in 1984? Next, like I said, this is Prince Joe, Suzanne Brockmann. I think this is the first book I ever read by Suzanne Brockmann, and I really enjoyed it. And I went and looked, and now I got quite a few books by her, and I'm sure I got another one. This is her Tall, Dark, and Dangerous series. I think I bought the whole series. I'm not for sure. I have to get it and see. But this was my favorite out of that whole series, Prince Joe, and I'll read you a little bit of this. The government wanted Veronica St. John to teach a tough, combat-hardened Navy SEAL how to impersonate a visiting European crown prince who'd been targeted by terrorists. But even if every gorgeous inch of him did look the part, this guy simply wasn't prince material. It wasn't just that everything about Lieutenant Joe Catalano, boy, he got a long last name, Catalano, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, from his New York accent to his arrogant, streetwise attitude, said he was anything but an aristocrat. No, the real trouble was the way he made his refined upper crust teacher want to slap him silly and then kiss him senseless. Prince Joe, Suzanne Brockmann. If you haven't read this, I would highly recommend this book. I really enjoyed it. It's a favorite of mine. I've read it a couple of times. Prince Joe, Suzanne Brockmann. And next I'm going with my TBR, the books I want to read for April. First up I have Amanda Bouchet, A Promise of Fire. I think this is a historical paranormal, and I'll read a little bit of this. Cat lives disguised as a soothsayer in a traveling circus. She is perfectly content avoiding the danger and destiny the gods and her homicidal mother have saddled her with. That is until Griffin, an ambitious warlord from the magic deprived South, fixes her with his steely glaze and upset her illusion of safety forever. I think this is going to be a series, and I think this is the first book in the series. A Promise of Fire, a fantasy romance at its finest. Fall in love with these delicious characters. So I guess somebody reviewed it. Her name is Drana Jones. And that's what her take. A fantasy romance at its finest. Fall in love with these delicious characters. And I think it's going to, yep, The Kingmaker Chronicles. So it's a series. So I'm going to read it and see, do I want to invest in the rest of the series? What caught me was it said her homicidal mother. And you know, sometimes those characters like that, they be very interesting because they have a screw loose real bad. And you be rooting for them to hurry up and get theirs. So I hope this is really good. I hope it is. Amanda Bouchet, A Promise of Fire. Next I have Mary Balogh, Someone to Hold. I was at Target and I saw this in there and I picked it up and I read the back of it and it sounded like what interesting. So I was headed to the cash register with this book, but my mind kept telling me you don't need to buy any more books. So I talked myself out of it, so I went and took it back. And I was heading to the library too because I had put some books on hold there and they had come in, so I was on my way to pick them up. And I went in there and I got my books, and on my way back to check them out, I saw this. I was like, it was meant to be for me to get this book. So I checked this out too. And it's Mary Balogh, Someone to Hold, and I'll read you a little bit of this. With her parents' marriage declared bigamous, Camille Westcott is now illegitimate and without a title. Looking to eschew the trappings of her old life, she leaves London to teach at the Bath orphanage where her newly discovered half-sister lived. But even as she settles in, she must sit for a portrait commissioned by her grandmother and endure an artist who rouse her every nerve. An art teacher at the orphanage that was once his home, Joe Cunningham, has been hired to paint the portrait of the haughty new teacher. But as Camille poses for Joe, their mutual contempt soon turns to desire, and it is only the bond between them that will allow them to weather the rough storm that lies ahead. So this sounded very interesting, especially she done lost, first she was rich and now she's poor. That always make for an interesting story. So Mary Balogh, Someone to Hold. And next I have a book recommended by one of my subscribers, so thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's Marquerite Kaye, The Soldier's Dark Secret. And she told me about it. I went and looked it up on Amazon, and I saw that it was a Harlequin historical. So you know how I like my Harlequin historical and any historical. So I said, okay, let me give it a try. And I'll read you a little bit of this. Officer Jack Tristan may have been one of Wellington's most valued code breakers, but since Waterloo, he's hung up his uniform. If only he could just as easily put aside the tortured memories he carried within him. Perhaps enchanting French artist Celeste Mamon might be the distraction he so desperately craved. So it was about a soldier. I like those kind of books too, so I said, let me try it out. Marquerite Kaye, The Soldier's Dark Secret. So I hope it's good. I hope it's very good. And next I have Laura Lee Guthrie, The Truth About Love and Dukes. And I got this a few days ago. I know I said I wasn't going to buy any more book, but I did get this from Amazon. Laura Lee, I think this just came out. Laura Lee Guthrie, The Truth About Love and Dukes. And I'll read you a little bit of this. Henry Duco Torquell wouldn't be caught reading the wildly popular Dear Lady True Love column, but when its advice causes his mother to embark on a scandalous elopement, an enraged Henry decides the author of this trite must be stopped before she can ruin any more lives. Though Lady True Love's identity is a closely guarded secret, Henry has reason to suspect the publisher of the notorious column, beautiful and provoking Irene Gabriel, is also its author. So that sounded interesting, especially when his mother, I guess she read a column. I guess the True Love is telling, I guess it's like a True Love column, and I guess she's talking about go for it if you fall in love with somebody. And I guess Henry's mother's like, okay, I'm all in. So she eloped, and Henry was like, no, I don't think so. I'm going to find out who wrote this column, and all hell finna break loose. Lord, so I was like, this sounds very interesting. Laura Lee Guthrie, The Truth About Love and Dukes. Have any of you read this yet? If you have, did you enjoy it? Let me know. I hope it's good. You know how you have half hope for a book and then to let you down? I hope this is not one of them. And last but not least, I have An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole. And if you saw one of my other videos, I mentioned that I watched CBS Sunday Morning, and they did a series or a little episode. They did an episode on romance novels and romance authors, and I think I put a link in that video below to that segment. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know which video it was, but it was CBS Sunday Morning, and they did a segment on romance novels. And in that segment, they were showing like a bunch of books, and I saw this, and I was like, this looked like an African American historical. And so I wrote down this title and the author's name, and I looked it up on Amazon, and sure enough, it was a historical, African American historical. And you know, you don't have too many of those, so I was like, I'm all in. So I ordered it a couple of weeks ago, and it finally came last week. So I had to put this on my to-be-read list for this month. So let me read you a little bit of this. Ella Barnes is a former slave with a passion for justice and an eidetic memory. Trading in her life of freedom in Massachusetts, she returns to the indignity of slavery in the South to spy for the Union Army. So that already had me captured right there. So you're going to give up your freedom and then you're going to go into slavery. Hey, it's a very strong woman. And and this is the hero. The hero's name is Malcolm. Malcolm McCall is a detective for Pinkerton's Secret Service. Subterfuge is his calling, but he's facing his deadliest mission yet, risking his life to infiltrate a rebel enclave in Virginia. Two undercover agents who share a common cause and an undeniable attraction, Malcolm and Elle join forces when they discover a plot that could turn the tide of the war in the Confederacy favor. Caught in a tightening web of wartime intrigue and fighting a fiery and forbidden love, Malcolm and Elle must make their boldest move to preserve the Union at any cost, even if it means losing each other. So I hope this is great. I was hoping it would be thicker, but it's not. So, but I'm still happy because I got an African American historical, and I can't wait to read it. An Extraordinary Union, Alyssa Cole. I hope it's great. I hope so. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I hope all these books are great, because there's nothing like reading a book that, like I said, that you had great expectations for and it just didn't do it for you. But I hope the books I just mentioned are not one of them. And this is An Extraordinary Union, Alyssa Cole. Laura Lee Guthrie, The Truth About Love and Dukes. Marquerite Kaye, The Soldier's Dark Secret. Mary Balogh, Someone to Hold. Amanda Bouchet, I like her name, Bouchet, A Promise of Fire. And my two recommendations for today, Prince Joe, Suzanne Brockmann, Variation on a Theme, Billie Douglas. So if you've read any of these, let me know. Let me know what you think about them, what you thought about them. And that's all I have for today. Continue to enjoy your Sunday, and I will too. And until next time, keep reading those romances. Bye.